As South Africa marks Human Rights Month, the plight of children is once again another focus area. The CEO of the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund says the rights of children continue to be trampled upon. The Constitution is clear on the rights of children and how they are to be safeguarded against neglect, abuse and degradation, among others. While the disappearance of little Joslin Smith has grabbed headlines, there are many other children who go missing in our country each day. Dr Linda Ncube-Nkomo, Nelson Mandela Children's Fund CEO, joins us live now for this difficult conversation. Thank you so much for your time this evening. I mean, one thinks about, malnutrition, neglect, abuse as some of the reality experienced by some children in South Africa. I mean, what does this tell us about the kind of society we are if we can't take care of our young ones?
Good evening, Bonga, to you and your viewers, and thank you for having us on the show today. I think from the onset, we need to be very clear about the fact that there can be no human rights without children's rights. And children's rights start from the time that they land on planet Earth, that they land in South Africa as babies. So the thing around the neglect of children, the physical element of it, is that it's not a poverty thing. It's one thing for children to starve because families cannot afford food, and that's a different conversation. But when children are willfully abused, mentally abused, neglected, disappearing into thin air, it's speaking to our soul as a society. And we've lost our soul as a society, and we need to quickly backtrack and ask ourselves, who are we? And what is our role in creating a generation of children, of human beings that are caring, that are nurturing, that are safe, that can provide safety and protection?
And how much of that is also caused by the fact that you have parents themselves who are, battling with their own issues and thus also not getting the required support, and the notion that it takes a village to raise a child sometimes gets forgotten?
It really does. And I think that's where we need to go back to being, for you and me to be able to say, any child in my environment is under my care, is my business. We need to stop minding our own business when we see children being abused and turn a blind eye, because then we are complicit in that abuse of children. So we need to be more intentional around making sure that what I know about a child, if I know a child is not safe, I'm going to make it my business to get that child to a place of safety. We can't go on like this. We've declared war on our children, and we need to now call ourselves to order as a society.
And I wonder, what are some of the risks, that come with this war that you say we have now declared on our children, because essentially this is the future of our country?
So what we're modeling for our children is what they're going to play back to us when we are the vulnerable older people that they're looking after, and they are the caregivers of us. So we've got to be asking ourselves, what's the care that we're expecting from these children that are currently in our care now and that we're raising? What have we modeled for them to play back to us when the tables are turned and we are the vulnerable ones in need?
And there's another issue that sometimes even goes unspoken of, and this is around the rights of children to even have documentation and access to services. And sometimes in some of these instances, we see that children grow up without birth certificates, grow up to be adults without IDs, and therefore are struggling to even get the most basic of services. And 30 years on in our democracy, this is one of the injustices that, one would say we're meeting out against them.
You're absolutely right, Bongia. It is such an injustice. And, I'm glad to see that the Department of Home Affairs is being intentional about being in places that are easily accessible to people. And hopefully that will give us a bigger percentage in terms of giving children, the birth documentation that they need that carries them through life. But that needs to be supported around the other rights of children, such as the rights to shelter, the rights to safety and protection, and we're doing really poorly on those measures. So what's the point of them getting an ID, a birth certificate, and I'm not undermining the importance of a birth certificate. Giving them that, and then they're going into environments where they are raped, where they are maimed, where they are hurt, where they are not protected. So we've got to make sure that all the rights that children are given in the Constitution are actually lived up to, and they get to enjoy them.
And I wonder then, as we end of our conversation, for you, what does a safer South Africa for children look like?
It looks like a place where in the home, in the community, in the schools, children are treated with dignity. They're being nurtured and they're being given a sense of respect and love that is deserving of any human being. So Ubuntu being exercised towards children.
Thank you so much for having this important conversation, because, you know, when we think about Human Rights Month, a lot of the focus goes towards your service delivery, your water and everything, and those are important, but we also need to pause and think about, you know, children and really their rights and how they then get to also be safeguarded against some of what we are seeing. So thank you so much for your time this evening. We do appreciate it. That is Dr. Linda Ncube-Nkomo, Nelson Mandela Children's Fund CEO.